Well, hello YouTube. Here we are with another Maxwell's Minds. This one here is the changing of society. Well, it's 2017 and society has changed. We have become a detached society. Detached from family, neighbors, and friends, and others around us. The falling apart of society seems to be rapidly increasing as the years go on. There was a time where we looked out for one another and gave a hand if needed. If your neighbor needed a hand with calving, with getting the crops off the field, building maintenance, to cover an illness, we were there. If anybody in the community needed a hand, whether it was a death in the community, we were there. And nowadays it seems that it's almost like if you can't survive on your own, then you're on your own. When a family member would pass away, it was a ordeal that the family would come together and help out and console the remaining living relatives. And now it's almost like when the sandwiches are gone and the loved one is in the ground, then the family scatters and you're back to where it was, except missing a large part of your life. You remember back in the day, if we seen a stranded motorist, we were there to help or just to give a ride to the nearest service station. Nowadays we keep on rolling. Sometimes we hear stories of bad people, that use a broke down car as a cover to steal your vehicle or so. And then we judge everybody by that bad person or that story we hear. It's almost like we are afraid to talk to people, to say the wrong thing and offend someone. Sometimes with some people, they're just looking for a fight. Some people, things can get out of proportion really, really fast. Before you know it, you're getting sued and, drug off to jail and to court, right? So to err on the side of caution, we tend to avoid contact with, people outside our so-called circle of friends, which our circle of friends seem to be getting less and less, every year that goes by. When we see a hitchhiker, do you pick them up? At one time, hitchhiking was a very valued means of transportation, and now hitchhiking is almost impossible under some conditions. What is your first thought when you see a hitchhiker? Do you pull over and pick them up? Or do you drive by and look at them first? And if they look okay, then you pick them up. But then what is okay? When you think about it, what is okay on your scale of weirdness to so-called normal? What is your first thought that comes through your mind? With the way society is going, and everything seems to be de-evolving the way it used to be, there's very little punishment for those who offend. People can seem to do horrific things and get very little punishment or just a slap on the wrist. We have lost touch with even our own family members. Remember we used to gather around for, dinners at Christmas or Thanksgiving, Easter, stuff like that, and over time, the anchors of the family pass on, and nobody seems to step up and open their home for the family to come on in. So the family tends to migrate their own direction. We tend to start doing our own Thanksgivings or our own Easters and Christmases. And time marches on, time passes on. It used to be that families stayed close, worked close to each other, whether it was in the same community or just, half hour up the road kind of a deal where you could be there if need be. And now it seems that we scatter to all parts of the world, and as a result we do not get contact or together like we used to. An email and a phone call is great and all, but nothing says that I love you or I care about you like meeting face to face. Even if it is for a coffee or a dinner or a walk in the park, it seems that we just plain don't get together like we used to. As time passes on, it gets harder and harder to break the no contact thing. As much as we try to call, text, email, set appointments with family members, it's like they don't want to be there either. And then once that's done, it's another 20 years before, we get back together, and sometimes we only see each other at funerals. Friendships we have between people doesn't seem to be as deep as they used to be. You remember friends you made in school, well, you were friends, and it seemed the only thing that would break you up is like if they stole your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, right? Well, now it seems that if they don't let you play their video game, then they're no longer your friend, or won't call you on a weekend or whatever, then they're no longer your friends. It's almost like they're disposable nowadays. We look at somebody that comes into our life, and some people are looking for what they can get out of the so-called friend, what they can use them for, and others are just looking for a friend, but the way society has changed, I think we've put up walls and guard against people coming into our safe space, letting people know who we truly and really are. We tend to keep our home a sanctuary, kind of our own area that nobody gets to see, nobody gets to venture on in, and if we do meet anybody, it's in a so-called safe public space where we think nothing can ever go wrong. Lifelong friendships are rare nowadays. To truly have a person that understands you and can see through your flaws and issues to the true person that you really are. We tend to hide away from everybody in our lives. Go to work, come home, and after work socialization with coworkers is very rare. A lot of companies nowadays, they frown upon socialization with coworkers. Sometimes it's because we will or do form bonds with coworkers that if and when something does go wrong, you don't just lose one staff, you'll lose 3 or 4, or they will have a workplace issue because you fired their friend, and then you'll end up having a problem in the work environment. So we tend to want to keep our jobs, so we tend to follow these rules that corporations put out to cover, their own butts. Having a social life nowadays is not as common as what it used to be. Again, we'd meet friends at the coffee shop or mall or kinda anywhere, and to get together. And now it seems we rush home very fast to take care of our duties at home, whether it's making suppers, doing laundries, taking care of children or whatever, and basically the next day we repeat it all over again. We have a longing to belong that cannot be filled in this society. Again, we once knew our neighbors. We would have coffee with them, share recipes with them. If a neighbor was down, we'd cook a turkey and take on over, or just cook a dessert and take on over. And we marry our neighbors' daughters or sons, and that's what makes the community the community. We would know when they were away, and we would watch their property and help out when needed. That's what made the community a community. And now our neighbors are strangers. We almost never talk. We fight over the silliest of things. Do we truly know who our neighbors are? Sometimes they can shock us with who and what they are. You don't know who they are until the SWAT team comes knocking on the door, and then you find out they had something very, very strange that they were hiding, and they seemed like the perfect person. When we are in the mall or the grocery store, it used to be a social event to meet, friends there, coffee with them, or coffee with people that you were acquaintances with because of the whole grocery store thing. Ask how their daughters are, their sons are, their grandbabies are, how they're doing, exchange photos, I have experienced this myself, where it's almost like people are afraid to talk to you, because if they talk to you, they're going to get stabbed or assaulted. So then things change, where we get in and get out before something bad happens. I think some of the social issues are because of the lack of community spirit, the lack of community events. They're at a very minimum number. Some of this has to do with the cost of running venues to host these community events. Sometimes people get paid to man the ticket booth, or the concession they get paid, or the person that gets paid to clean up after everybody, and because they are away from their families as well. No longer are we doing this in the basement of a church or a town hall where it's very, very cheap rent. We're renting a large venue that, has bills to be paid, and it's a business nowadays instead of a community event. You remember the sock hops or dances or functions at the community hall. I remember some of them when I was younger, and they were very, very fun. I haven't been to one in years, and I really don't know of any more that are around, my town anyways. Community events that everybody was invited to and felt welcome, regardless of who they were or what they were or what religious background they were from. Everybody seems to be distance themselves into certain groups because they don't want tension or conflict, and then that creates a very, very large rift in the community that cannot be patched with a band-aid. What are your thoughts on this? I know things change with time. It's just the way it is. Things change, both good and bad. Should we go back to our roots, back to the way things were, or just blindly follow the new way of thinking and directions, the way society is going, the way things are? Do you think society will change to the point where it's beyond repair, beyond healthy society, to the point where it'll basically implode on itself? You know, where everybody's afraid to do anything or say anything or even move an inch, because if they break or bend a blade of grass, then well, someone jumps down their throat because of well, it's the way it is now, you know. What are your thoughts? Leave your comments below. And well, thanks for watching this here episode of Maxwell's Mind. Tune back in and we will have another one down the road. And as always, thanks for watching Maxwell's Mind. Comment, subscribe, and enjoy.